Good golly, Miss Molly. Um, the there I am. Oh, glory. I hope that everyone had a wonderful rest of the week and a beautiful weekend. Um, very sad. Very sad only in the fact that it was one of the first weekends in a very long time that it didn't rain any of the days. That it would have. I bet you, had Comic Con happened, it would have rained one of those days. I can bet you that much. Um, Hi everybody. Welcome to Cat Chat. My name is Tomcat. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about professional cosplayers. Do they exist? Are they a unicorn? How does one become a professional cosplayer? Dispelling some of the rumors that there are, and I do apologize that I'm literally checking my head. In my basement, there's a lip that comes down a little bit, about maybe 7 inches. Um, and as I was coming into, because I have a big sheet over here, and as I was coming in, it scalped me. So, it hurt a lot. But I put some alcohol on it. I put some water on it, so we should be okay. It'll hurt like hell. It will scab. I'm not looking forward to it. Any hoozle beans. Um, do professional cosplayers exist? Well, it depends on your definition of professional cosplayer. What constitutes a professional cosplayer? Um, there really is no right answer to this question. Because when I hear professional cosplayer, I think that it is just something that doesn't really exist. Like, there are cosplayers that are asked to be guests. There are cosplayers that have a shut up, Chris. Um, is what is it that makes being a professional cosplayer so worthwhile to so many people? Um, the answer is simple. People think that when you call yourself a professional cosplayer, that means you just get paid to go to conventions, and it's not as cut and dry as that. There's a difference between being a professional cosplayer and a successful cosplayer. Same way as there's the difference between being a drag queen and being a successful drag queen. Um, or a professional voiceover artist or a successful voiceover artist. Like, these all, I I don't quantify professional, because you can be professional in any way, shape, or form. Professional by definition just means that you are, well, now we're just gonna pull it up on the Google. Define colon, not define colon, but define colon, relating to or connected with a profession. Engaged in a specified activity as one's made paid occupation rather than as a pastime. So if you are going to conventions every weekend, they are your bread and butter. They are, you constantly are getting booked every weekend for conventions to go to every weekend. You theoretically would be considered a professional cosplayer because that is your profession. That is your occupation. Your occupation is to go to these events, cater to different people and whatnot, and that's great. That's fantastic. But I feel like you would burn yourself out very, very, very quickly. Especially because you have to constantly negotiate contracts, negotiate billing, negotiate all of these things that it takes to become a cosplayer that gets paid to constantly go to conventions. Um, One of the great things about being a creative, one of the great things about being someone that is a creative individual is that there are no limits to what you can occupy yourself with, or be a professional in. It really is determined by what you as an individual want to consider yourself. Um, it depends on what area you want to focus on most, I guess you can say. And this is something that I myself am learning as I continue to, continue to go through the throngs of it all. Um, hey Hanari, professional cosplayer here. What's good? Adrian, hey baby, hi sweet cakes. Um, Hanari says professional is usually defined as someone who's receiving money for their work, getting paid for it. Contracts are annoying because they always change the clauses. Contracts are the bane of a lot of people's existences because they are constantly changing. And every convention you go to has a contract that needs to be signed. Um but it's challenging. It's very challenging work. It depends on what you bring to the table. What do you bring to the table that no one else is going to bring to the table? What is it that you as an individual can offer that will make tickets sell for this event? Um, my darling Hanari says, I consider myself a professional because I've worked for major companies before, like Blizzard and the like. And Hanari does, in fact, put the work in to reach out to different conventions and say, hey, this is me, this is who I am, this is who I've worked for. Please hire me, please have me on as a guest. Um, and there are other individuals that do the same thing. Canvas Cosplay, Lucky Grimm, Jessica Negri, obviously, Yaya Han, Ivy Doom Kitty. Uh, who else? Who else can I think of off the top of my head? Um, it's it's interesting because in cosplay, the term, in my opinion, this could not be the opinion about it, but professional cosplay can vary so greatly. There's professional cosplayers that make most of their money doing commissions and creating ensembles and cosplays for people. There are cosplayers that also, moonlight as actors, where they'll make most of their money acting and performing. Um, Lucky is so great. What exactly do you mean by lucky, darling? Are we talking about lucky as in lucky or lucky as in somebody else? um, but there are different avenues that can be taken. Cosplay is not just a one note situation. There are many, many, many facets of cosplay. There are cosplayers that make most of their money selling lewds or selling on their OnlyFans. There are cosplayers that make their money, doing other things that sort of revolve around the convention circuit, like vendors. There are cosplayers that also that do vending. Oh yes, Lucky Grip. Oh my god, I adore Rachel. She is a masterful human being. There are also cosplayers out there that make most of their money, competing. But it's a question of putting in the right amount of work. Before the pandemic, I had made a laundry list of conventions that I was going to eventually, reach out to, saying, um, uh, basically saying, "Hi, this is me. This is who I am. I am a not gender non-conforming cosplayer slash drag queen. I've competed. I've done this. I've done that. I haven't won anything technically. Um, I mean, I've won in smaller circuits, but I haven't won like really big shows. Um, but yeah, that was what I had intended on doing, and then friggin' pandemic happened, and then there went the year, really. Um, and yes, to those who sell their lewds on OnlyFans, to those who sell cosplay lewds, keep on making that money, sweetie. Keep on making that money. Sex work is honest work. Um, that's how I feel on the subject. And if any of you have a problem with that, that's just too damn bad. Um, but yeah, it's it's always interesting to get into these sort of conversations with people who say, "Oh, well, there's no such thing as a professional cosplayer, and that doesn't exist." Well, it depends on where you're looking. And again, there are cosplayers out there that also make their money, again with the commissions, but also with brands, getting branded, getting sponsored, having partnerships. That's how some others, I believe, Jedi Manda, Jedi Manda, and Canvas Cosplay, if I'm not mistaken, they both put out books. They both put out books that's how they make some of their money. Um, in my opinion, the long and the short of it is professional cosplayers are those that are constantly going to conventions every weekend, and that's how they're making their money. So it hurt quite a lot of banks when conventions all went belly up. I know people that have been losing money. Anamia, I'm sure Hanari, who else? Emma Pool, um, these people, these cosplayers, these models who have, you know, who make their bread and butter off of the pictures that they have taken of them. It's been a challenge for them because they have to get inventive. And I feel like that's the problem with a lot of the creatives that usually go to conventions. They're trying to figure out where the next where the next paycheck's coming from. And I feel like that's the same thing with drag queens. And trust me, I've been seeing a lot of drag queens going and wearing the masks or wearing the plastic face shields, and just going, twirling, spinning, making that money. And good for you, good for you. Not me, but um, but yeah, if you as a creative want to endure being a professional cosplayer, it's a lot of work. It is a lot of work. It is not for the faint of heart, especially because you constantly want to create new looks. You want to create more content for your social medias, and it's hard. It's very hard, constantly creating content. Hanari says, professional cosplay is exhausting, to be honest. I stopped doing commissions because it was taking a massive mental toll on me. I stopped doing contests because I had to shift my focus to branding and craftsmanship before competing. It really depends on where you want to go in terms of being a creative. Do you want to go more towards acting? Do you want to go more towards competing? Do you want to go towards, and the problem is, the way the parents always used to say, "What are you gonna fall back on? Where are you gonna make your money?" The thing is, a lot of creatives find ways. A creative will always find a way to make some kind of money. When I was booted from my job after contracting COVID, I turned to drag. I did drag shows. I did drag shows for tips. And anything over 50 cents was Yahoo, bells and whistles. Um, Louis actually brought up a very good point. Hi, Jamie. Um, Louis says, I would say I'm a professional cosplayer because I am in a group where I do charities, appear on shows. Also, I work with my boyfriend for his cosplay magazine. We do organized shoots. We don't have much money, but we do a lot of press on cons, and also me and my boyfriend become guests as one of the con guests. But even though we don't make money, I do commissions on photography, and I also have benefits. Also do parties too. And that's another avenue of cosplay. There's the parties. There's the superhero parties, the princess parties. I would love to, and I've said this before. I would love to like do villain parties, where bachelorette parties, or like like dirty 30 parties, or flirty 40 parties, um things of that nature, where like the person will hire a Disney villain to come and lip sync and sing and do trivia and do shots and all that fun. Just have a fabulous time. We'll see what happens. We'll see what 2021 brings. Um, it's it's a challenge. I feel like also professional cosplayers are that is a it's such an interesting term because there are cosplayers out there that don't consider them professional cosplayers. They consider themselves more professional hobbyists, who will, I'm gonna use my friend Joshua Duarte, Thrawn Duarte cosplay. Please go and look them up. Same with Hanari. Go and look Hanari up. Go and look. Why is his name escaping me? But Louis M. Sullivan. Look them up on the Facebook and the Instagrams. That's good peoples to follow. Um, I'm gonna right, Josh. I'm going to use him as an example. He was actually just recently made he was either sponsored or he got a partnership through Husqvarna, which creates manufactures manufactures sewing machines, but also heavy duty stuff for the home, like I think refrigerators, vacuum cleaners. And he was just branded with Husqvarna. I'm trying to think of the friggin' word for it, and it's pissing me off. I think he was either sponsored, like I said, either sponsored or partnered with Husqvarna. And how he makes his money is on his day-to-day job. He does not make his money off of guest appearances. He makes his money off of his primary occupation, and cosplay is just a little mad money, if and when he has it. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with, having a side hustle, and there's nothing wrong with having a primary occupation as long as you're having fun and enjoying yourself. And I feel like that's something that a lot of professional cosplayers are struggling with, more or less. I feel like a lot of professional cosplayers in general, sometimes struggle with this idea that and even for a long time I also felt it, where it was just like, need to create a new look, need to create something for this convention, something for this weekend, something for that, something for that. So no, relax, breathe. I in the 11 years that I've been cosplaying, I am here to tell you, it is a jungle. I have more costumes than I know what to do with. There are some cosplays that I have not worn. There are some drag looks that I have not worn in literal years. As a matter of fact, I was talking to my darling Canvas cosplay recently, and he was just like, "You did Endora once, didn't you?" I said, "Yes, I competed with Endora. That was in, I think, 2014, and that was genuinely the last time I wore that ensemble." And he was just like, "You should totally do it again." And I was just like, "Well, maybe." But there are so many costumes that, as cosplayers, we are constantly trying to create new things. We're trying to constantly come up with, new and inventive ways to get into costume. It's really quite fabulous. Thank you, and our sponsor. Joshua was sponsored by Husqvarna. Um, Sponsored by Husqvarna. Uh, yes, Hanari villain parties. I'm definitely toying with the idea. Hi Rizuki. Hi Sweet Cakes. Yes, I adore Josh. He is one of my favorite people. LaBelle, the topic for today is professional. The term is professional. Professional. Nadell says, what does Nadell say? It seems like in order to be a professional cosplayer, you must be able to do a multitude of things. Have tons of cosplays, be able to look good and appeal to the crowd while taking and selling pictures, and have a big following while making appearances. It really does sound like a lot, especially since the hobby can drain the soul while dealing with certain people. Like, it has its good and bad points, like everything in this world, but ugh. It's because of all of that, I just enjoy cosplay as a hobby. Even as a hobby, it's less stressful. It's a challenge. And yes, it does. It constitutes a lot. Being a cosplayer that goes to conventions and is always, it depends on what you're going to the convention for. If you're going to the convention to compete, it's very difficult to compete and then also have a table. What some cosplayers do, and I think Me and Joshua are very similar in the fact that um, we haven't had any guest appearances, but we have competed. We've been on the Reed Pop stage. We've definitely competed in prestigious contests, and we continue to do that. It builds up a resume, so we can go to other conventions and say, "Hey, this is it, it's all working towards that end goal of being invited to a convention and building a rapport with that convention. It's a job. It is a full-time job to create the contact list, create the spreadsheet for the contact list, create all the contacts that you can, so you can like one day take a chunk of time out and be like, I'm gonna email this convention and say, hey, this is who I am, this is what I do, hire me. Hi, this is me, this is who I am, this is what I do, hire me. And just that laundry list of things. um and even when it comes to conventions, you want to like, if you are going to email a convention to say, this is who I am, please have me on as a guest, there's a few things that you can do to expedite that process. First and foremost, send an interest email. Basically start off by saying, hi, my name is so and so. I'm interested in guesting at your convention. Are you open? Is your convention open for any like guest applications or something of equal or better value? Always try and find out who the always try to like navigate the waters of like who you can and can't contact and who's the right person to talk to and who's the wrong person to talk to. You'll get better at it with time. It all takes time. um I see Rachel laughing. um because if Rachel wanted to, Rachel could get invited to any convention at the drop of a hat. I would love to hear her opinion on things, honestly. I would love to hear your opinion on things, Rachel. Hi, Will. Hey, Shar. Um, but yeah, there's so many things that go into being a um a professional cosplayer. And I'm gonna keep on doing that in quotes because there's always that sort of like back and forth of, well, are you really a professional cosplayer or are you just somebody that does X, Y, and Z? And there's that sort. It's a gray area. Being called a professional cosplayer is that gray area where there's like no right or wrong answer. As long as you like are making your money off of convention appearances, you can consider yourself a quote unquote professional. Yeah. Rachel in her infinite wisdom says, I don't email cons. And it's true. You reach a point when you are so good and so talented that they will reach out to you, or you will be connected to people that have connections in the convention and they'll be like, hey, we can get this person in here. Great, let's do it. Um, and it's sort of it's you build off of that. You build off of that. It's all about creating relationships, and again, it is all in who you know. Any creative field that you are a part of, it is all in who you know. Build those relationships, build those connections, work with the right people. Don't be afraid to like ask questions of people that do get booked. Don't be afraid to ask questions of people that have, all the followers and all of the talent. You'll be very surprised with what you hear. Um, there are people that will say, "Hey, this is how I did it." And again, I'm gonna throw out my darling Canvas cosplays cosplay 101 marketing book series. He did a wonderful job with that series, and it's like, because one of the things that happens with Phil is he constantly gets asked, how did you do it? How do you get invited to conventions? How do you get all of these sponsorships and these partnerships and these brand ambassadorships? um and he basically says it's all in the books. It's all in the books. Look to the books. Page Master reference for those of you who don't know. But that is one way of doing it. That's one way of constantly, going and doing the professional route. Um, but yeah, there are also other ways. Oh, what's happening? See, I've tried to make connections and network, but people think it's clout chasing. I am glad you brought that up, Hanari. Let's talk about back to Google definitions. If you look up clout via dictionary, clout as a noun is a heavy blow with the hand or a hard object. I'm not a clout chaser then. I don't want a heavy blow with a hand or hard object. But the informal is influence or power, especially in politics or business. That is one of the most difficult things to sort of grapple with in the cosplay community, in any creative community. They're all looking for that sort of like foot in the door, that sort of in. And there are people that will say, well, are you really trying to do the thing, or are you just looking for fame and fortune? And it's so difficult, and it's so upsetting, and it's so offensive. Because yes, there are clout chasers out there. There are people out there that are looking for that easy in. And it's it's really very unfortunate. Especially because, you don't know a person's story. You don't know why the person is doing it. So why go out of your way to say, "Oh, well, you're a clout chaser. You're not really in it for anything other than money. So you need to Is that such a big deal? Is that such a problem? I certainly don't think so. Oh my goodness, there are so many comments. LaBelle says, well, it's the same in what I do. There's always quotation marks around the word professional when I'm involved. I just want to meet people and talk about stuff. Rachel says, so I book about 6 to 8 months in advance. Mostly it shows contacting me and asking my availability. I also have been booked by third-party companies to be a guest of insert name of so-and-so. Yeah, clout chasers are the worst, especially you can tell when they post pics. For example, Sci-Fi Vero Marvel. There's a lot. Rachel says I also have been booked by third-party companies like Sci-Fi Vero Marvel to be a guest at that convention. Rizuki says, I think there's multiple types of professional cosplayers, those like Yaya and Nigri, those that get paid as a full-time cosplayer, those that get paid as a side hustle cosplayer, those that don't get paid but do events, those that do cosplay but work behind the scenes. I think there's various tiers, if you will. Yes, I agree. Hanari says, it sucks because, like, sometimes you just genuinely want to talk to the people who end up being in the same circles as you, but people think it's clout chasing. My question is why? Why do there is this endless power struggle between the people that want to cosplay and be invited to conventions and be cos famous versus the ones that are actually putting in the work and trying to do the thing? Why is there that constant pull? It shouldn't be. If a person wants to be invited to a convention, they shouldn't be told that they're clout chasing. If that's the case, then I myself am a clout chaser. I become friends with everybody. I try to communicate with everybody. I try to make everything a big friggin' party. And there are some people that I guess take offense to that. And I guess that there are some people out there that say, well, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to go to this person. You're supposed to talk to that person. You're supposed to. Why? Why can't I just talk to whom the hell I want to talk to? Do I do I need your permission? Do I need your permission to talk to this person? Why? Why do I need your permission to talk to this person? It's about power and it's about control. That's exactly it. The people out there that say you're clout chasing are the ones that are also clout chasing, are also doing the thing. So wild. It's so wild. Uh, Heaven to Murgatroyd. Is it Heavens to Murgatroyd? Is there a hard D at the end of that? Q Philip because I said hard D. I'm late on that reply. I'm playing Super Mario in time. I'm tragically sorry, Rizuki. I'm so terribly sorry, dear. Rachel says, yeah, my ass gets ridden a little too much with those looking for a professional hookup. We have had conversations, Rachel, about that nonsense, and I am tragically sorry that that has happened to you. But when I am booked, I always ask to be paid. If a show will not pay me, they are not worth any cosplayer's time. And I feel like that's true of any convention. If a convention wants a cosplayer, if a venue wants a drag queen, if a director wants a voice actor, they will reach out. They will put the effort in to find you. They will do the thing to say, hey, how would you like to do X, Y, and Z for this? Great, wonderful. Here's my fee. Here's how much I'm going to charge you because my work and my time is valuable. I'm a very busy woman and I haven't got all day. You know the song. Rizuki says, I think people are hella quick to call the hustle clout chasing. I agree with what people have been saying here. It's said way too much out there. I don't know if it's a generational thing or what. Nadell, that was Rizuki. Nadell says, see, what is bad about the clouts professionals? She puts clouts and professionals in quotations. And in general with cosplayers, I noticed is that so many think they are too good to talk to regular, degular cosplayers. And then there are those who've been burnt before, so trying to reach out and talk to cosplayers or genuinely connect and talk to people is difficult. Yes. There will always be people who are going to be too busy to have a conversation. There will always be any individual in any creative field that will just not have time because they're trying so hard to get their next paycheck or get their next gig or book their next venue. It's very tricky. God, that's loud. My darling John Michael Salvato says the power trip in 21st century cosplay reminds me so much of the politics of the late 1980s drag circuit in the Southeast. Whew. Thank you, Hanari. It is Heavens to Murgatroyd. There is the hard D. I met Rachel on accident and it was a great day. It's always a great day when you meet Rachel, especially when you like especially when you hear how raunchy, bawdy her mouth actually is. Because she always comes off so sweet and dainty in her cosplays, and then you hear her open her mouth and she sounds like a longshoreman. I love you, Rachel. I love you, sweetie. It was funny. Me and Rachel actually. Lucky Grim, please look her up. Her cosplays are delicious. We actually met at Katsucon and we just like traded old school cosplay barbs at each other. It was fabulous. Louis says, oh, how about people who use you to become friends with you to gain that popularity, to gain that professional cosplay so they can be better than you? I believe I understand what you're saying, and I think that Rachel mentioned that when she said that there are people that will use her as a professional contact to sort of get in with other people. And what is the harm in just becoming friends with people? And like maybe if they're popular enough, they'll like offer something to you. Like I don't understand this idea that if you become friends with somebody, you're clout chasing. Or if you're like openly having a conversation with someone, you're clout chasing. Was Canvas Cosplay and Pepper Monster clout chasing when they approached me to be Winifred Sanderson for them? No! They approached me as a friend. They were like, hey, we want you to do X, Y, and Z with us. And I was just like, me? Moi? And that's wonderful. That's how all relationships should be. It should be about having fun. It should be about doing the thing. I don't understand where this idea that doing that is problematic came from. I do not know where it came from. I think a lot of it has to do with trust and that people are like, Oh, well, you shouldn't trust that person. They did X, Y, and Z to so and so. Like, the rumor mill is connected viciously with cloud chasing and professional cosplaying. I hate the rumor mill. Wait till they try to pay you with a boudoir shoot. I have never been paid with a boudoir shoot. Um, I would need to do an awful lot of shaving if I were to even try that. Rachel says, so hard truth. Guesting as a creative professional is hard work. It's hours and hours on your feet in costume, in my case, heavy restricting costumes. Then I am teaching panels, hosting for 2 to 3 hours on a stage at a time. It's hard work. It's hard work, and the paycheck sometimes isn't exactly worth it. So long as you're negotiating properly and saying, no, it's not going to be this much, so you need to add an extra couple of zeros to that number. And one of the important things to remember is to know your worth. If you're going to reach out to these conventions saying, hey, would you mind having me as a guest? And then they'll say, well, what do you do? What do you offer? You start that negotiation process, not process, the negotiation process, and you build a rapport with this person that you're speaking with. And then you can say, well, this is my fee. This is how much I charge. If this can be doable, if this is where and then you start to haggle, you start to talk it out. I can do this panel. I can host the cosplay contest. I can do this. I can do that. That bargain. Make deals. Make the contracts. They are the biggest pains in the ass. Where am I? Hanari says, or the people who cosplay the same things that you do literally every time you come out with a new cosplay because they want to be you. Copycats. They exist. Copycats in the cosplay community exist. There are people out there that will lurk and stalk and say, huh, interesting. They're doing that. Why don't I do that? Why don't I do that too? And it becomes a bit of a struggle. The queen of the meme, I have to give it up to J-Nig. That she does not miss a beat. When Bowsette became a thing, I think she was one of the first to do it. When Among Us became popular, she was the first to get into the astronaut costume with the helmet. When the Moth meme came to pass, she immediately cosplays as a moth. That level of dedication is one of the reasons why she has as many followers. I mean, yes, she also has a banging body. But she's also incredibly creative. And if there's something that she's incredibly passionate about, including shitposting, she'll do it. And she'll get the followers for it. But there are copycats that do exist, where you will see an idea that somebody has posted, and you'll try to copy it. Some people are very crafty and they'll do their own thing. There is nothing wrong with looking at a person's page and cosplaying your own rendition of it. There is, however, a problem with you copying it directly off of that person's page. Now, when it comes to creating, when it comes to building that type of cosplay, you have to say to yourself, is this going to I'll give a good example. And I'll use Princess Chris as an example. Princess Chris had an idea to do a two-toned Sleeping Beauty Princess Aurora cosplay. And then Disney created a sweater or a sweater pantsuit combination that looked very similar to his design. Chris constantly said, well, they took my idea, and I'm like, honey, Princess Aurora doesn't belong to you. You may have done your own interpretation, but at the end of the day, the character belongs to the mouse. And I feel like there are levels. There are different levels to that. But when it comes to being a copycat, let's take me for instance. Say somebody takes the idea of B. Arthur and puts her in a Deadpool costume. If I see that, I'm going to be like, oh, I see. But at the same time, I don't own B. Arthur. I don't own Deadpool. I just came up with the idea. If I wasn't tagged in the cosplay picture, I'd be like, huh, how interesting. Please tell me how you came up with this idea. Oh, it tickles me. But there are people out there that will see, oh, you did an armored version of Elsa. I'm also going to do an armored version of Elsa. And then especially if you notice that the armor is very similar to the armor that you created. There's nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong with doing a different version of an armored character, or just a different do your own variation. Don't pull directly from another person's art. Because that's just tacky. There are comments, friends. Hanari says other people. Oh yes, we went over the copycats. Rizuki says there's so much jealousy in the community. Facts. Rachel says last time a con said I wasn't worth what I asked in payment, I sent them an average invoice I send to Style. I love her. She's such a petty person, and I love her to death for it. Oh, my goodness gracious. And Adele says, ugh, yeah, I've heard stories about that too. That also makes... Oh, this is Nadell responding to Louie. That also makes making friends and talking to cosplayers difficult. It's so disgusting that some people are that desperate for fame. I remember this one girl who was trying way too hard to become popular, but she went about it in the wrong way, and would later shit talk the popular ones behind their back. Yeah, the cosplay community is small. People think it's very large. There are a lot of people in the cosplay community, but they all talk. We all talk. We all talk. Same thing in drag, same thing in voiceover. We all talk. The creatives will always talk. This person did this. That person said that. And then we get into that muddy cancel culture gray area, which I think I'm going to save for another episode, because that is a conversation in and of itself. Hanari says, I gotta hop out and get food, but I love you. I love you too, baby. Be safe. Make good choices. Philip Eng says, it's kids growing up in the con scene, but not having real life experiences in networking, like having had to negotiate through work and internships. And they don't understand that. They think that, oh, I'm going to get in a cosplay and it's going to be easy for me. No. Not again. Sorry. That's not how it works. It's challenging. It is a struggle. I don't want to say it's a numbers game, but it's kind of a numbers game. You have to reach out to conventions constantly and say, or if you're like Rachel, they will reach out to you. But Rachel's been in the convention scene for years. She has built up a reputation with brands. She has built up brand loyalty with people. She has built up this sort of empire for herself, where if a convention wants to have her there to promote their brand, they're going to hire her. And they will hire her at top dollar because that's how much that bitch is worth. And that's what I fear some conventions are forgetting. They're forgetting that the cosplayers that they hire are worthy of more than what they're being given. But that's, again, a whole nother can of fish. Oh, so sorry. Nadell responding to Rizuki, there's so many people who are lost in this community. Correct. Agreed, it's so difficult to wrap my head around that Nadell and Rizuki are talking about how crazy it is. Rachel says, there is being friends. It's all well and good. I'm pretty fine sharing context in the cosplay world. When one succeeds, we all succeed. A rising tide lifts all boats. I get burned when I find my name is being dropped to gain favors, or I am forgotten, dumped as soon as someone gets the context as soon as someone gets the context they want. That's hurtful. It is incredibly hurtful to use somebody just to get ahead. Like I had said, Rachel didn't say that. I said that. A rising tide lifts all boats. If you are going to lift a community, when one boat a rising tide, I can't say it enough. A rising tide lifts all boats. But don't take advantage. Never take advantage of people, especially if they're kind enough to help you out. Rachel says, "Good luck copying my shit." I'm going to be very honest with you kids. Rachel's cosplays, she puts her heart into it. I know I'm ruining your reputation a little bit. She is a piece of honest goods. She is someone that puts her whole body into a cosplay. From the materials, she takes time detailing. She literally is called the detail queen. And do not flex on her. She will flex back and you will cower and you will be afraid. See, now there's your reputation again, sweetie. She is the type of person that pays attention to the finer aspects of the costume that she's creating. And the materials that she uses, try and come within a centimeter of the stuff that she uses. It was one time we were talking and she says, "Yeah, these sequins, they're 14 karat gold." I was like, "Excuse me?" "Excuse me, what?" "You see these sequins on that witch's hat? They are plastic." But that is the type of cosplayer that Rachel is, and her work reflects that. Rizuki, Nadell responding to Rizuki, "It's frustrating, but I think it's just so many like the idea of fame. But since they had a hard time getting it and some lack that love for themselves that is needed to shine bright enough to be noticed and not care about getting noticed to become famous is why there's so much jealousy in the first place." Yes. There are people that think that going to a convention is a casting call. There are people that think that going to a convention is an audition, and it's not. It's not. It's about networking. It's about going to this event and having people come up to you saying, "Oh my God, I love your outfit. Oh my God, I love yours. Let's become friends on social media and start talking." I mean, I have not come across a whole All About Eve situation where there are people that will come up to me and say, "I want to be just like you. I'm going to become your best friend," and then it's happened to Rachel, but it hasn't happened to me yet. Where someone will become friends with me, get what they want out of me, get the notoriety out of me, and then completely and totally leave me in the lurch. I'm thankful that has not happened to me, but it has happened. There was that story, All About Eve, happened for a reason. It happened to somebody. LaBelle says, "I also believe it's what one is actually looking for. You can't knock anyone's hustle and how they go about doing it. It's different for everyone. I shouldn't expect to get what anyone else has or even a hand. Some people will help you because they want to be open to everyone and thing around you and expect nothing." I think I said that right. Rizuki responding to Nadell, "Yes, this is so well put. Yes. Nadell is a very well-spoken individual." Joe Colton responding to Rachel, "It always surprises me when it happens. I always try to help people like you say. When one succeeds, we all do. I've also noticed sometimes I see when people don't get what they want, they suddenly ghost, they disappear, they go away." Rachel says, "Take your craft seriously, not just yourself." Very important fact. Very important fact. If you want to be taken seriously as a cosplayer, pay attention to your craft. Pay attention to your art. It's your art. Treat it as such. See, there's, I think, some of the problem with people who want to be professional cosplayers and actual professional cosplayers. That I didn't start creating my own outfits until like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And I was just dicking around with a sewing machine. I was just diddling away. It wasn't until I said, I want to take this a little bit more seriously. And I said, okay, we want to take ourselves a little bit more seriously. What can we do? Focus on your art. Create something new that no one's ever seen before. Create something that is different, that will inspire others. I've competed 3 times, and when I've competed, I have seen beautiful pieces of art. I have seen people craft the most magnificent things in the universe. I have seen foam armor that looks so clean it looks almost exactly like metal. I have seen seam work and stitch work that is to die for. It is so important to pay attention to your craft. If you want to be the type of cosplayer that's like a shit poster where you'll like go to the Halloween store, pick up a random costume and like make it your own, that's great. That's wonderful. But it's not going to get the same amount of play that someone who's actively putting in so much work and effort. And I'm not shitting on anybody. I am not shitting on anybody. I am just talking about what I have seen and what I personally have noticed. The more work, the more effort you put into your costume, the more people are going to look and say, wow, you did that. Good for you. And yes, unfortunately, there will be times when the skimpier outfit will get more fame, but that's unfortunately the nature of things. A nude body is going to always get more likes than a well-crafted outfit. That's just facts. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, I said sex work is, what the hell did I say? I think I said sex work is honest work. Sex work is honest work. You're making that coin. Make it. You're making those likes. Make it. But also know that in doing that, it's going to be a little bit difficult to get brand recognition from sewing brands and pattern brands and all that fun stuff. It really depends on where you want to go in terms of cosplay, because there are so many fields to go in. Look at Tim Tanko. Look at SKS Props. Look at Talk Customs. Look at Evil Ted. They're all foam smiths. They all have foam brands. They all have their own way. That's one area. Any of the people that are on OnlyFans, they create content. Danielle Bolu, Hanari, Emma Poole. I'm trying to think of other people off the top of my head. Ken's Logan, Kenzie. They all have modeling areas. They all have modeling lewd areas, and they make their money that way. And then there are people that are just like, I'm going to compete and I'm going to jettison that. I'm going to not jettison. That's not the right word. I'm going to use my competition experience to say, hey, I've done this. Especially if you win. Oh, if you win, it's even better, because then you can say, I won with the help of this fabric from this store. I won with the help of this machine from this brand. And they'll reach out to you and say, hey, you did that with us? You did that with, good for you. And then you start the conversation. And it's a lot of work. It is not easy work. You need to do what is important and what is best for you. One of the things I'm very happy about is that we have this sort of time to take a break. To take a break and to sort of figure things out on a larger scale. There are some cosplayers out there that are building a bigger portfolio for themselves. There are cosplayers out there that are taking a break. There are cosplays out there that are building cosplays that they've been building for God knows how long. I'm looking at you, Josh. And they're still doing. But we should more or less enjoy the break while we have it, because as soon as conventions start up again, friend, it's going to be very, very interesting, to say the least. Whew. Nadell says, dog eat dog world, oi oi. I don't like putting it like that, but that is what the cosplay world sounds like sometimes. Like that's so much energy wasted to get chummy with somebody just to house them and then discard them. But there is karma in that, so though it sucks, those sneaky people lose in the long run. Rachel saying to my glowing rant about her. Okay, get off my casa dick. I only do one large build a year, i.e. Wizard, Snow Queen, Mercy. The rest are what we call photo ready. But I also take pride in my craft and being able to wear my costumes for years. Um Rachel says, yes, competing for me is fun and a challenge for myself. Guesting might be a side hustle for me, but competing is pure fun, if a little anxiety inducing. Constance says, I am with you. I do one big build a year and I only compete for fun. Rachel says, the stories I have about New York Comic Con. Honey, we all got stories about New York Comic Con. Louis says, can we talk about New York Comic Con? Cosplayers are desperate to get attention in that con. I can see it whenever I walk in. They want to get featured in medias and say, yeah, I got featured and stuff. The vibes are insane. It made me feel overwhelmed. Unless, this is Louis continued, unless you want to compete in contests, that is different because you show how much work you have done. Louis also says Tim Tanko is a badass in his cosplays. Yes, he is. Nadell says, isn't it this way at Katsu too? Since people do like a number of costumes, obvious exaggeration, but you get my point for those 3 or 4 days. Yes. And then there's my darling cousin saying, hey. She's gonna say it. I'm gonna lose my shit. I'm waiting for it patiently, Danielle. I'm patiently waiting for it, Danielle. I'm gonna tell this one anecdote and then I have to go. Rizuki says, to be honest, as much as Katsu is a photo heavy con, cosplay photo shoot con, I don't get the vibe at Katsu that I get at New York Comic Con. Right, because New York Comic Con is far more publicized. New York Comic Con is New York Comic Con. It's New York. It's big. It's the same thing with San Diego Comic Con. Whereas with KatsuCon, it's like perfect. Katsu is the Hunger Games. New York Comic Con is the Clout Olympics. Nadell says, actually, yes. No, because Katsu, yes. Rachel, I could not agree more with you. Actually, yes, and no, because Katsu is Cosplay Party Central Con. It's not like New York Comic Con. And then my cousin says, you like tie-dye? So we're going to end the conversation there, and we're going to say something a little bit human. There was a party that we had recently for my sister's birthday, and me, my cousin Danielle, and her wife Jamie were just palling around, joking, shooting the breeze, shooting the shit, and we try to have a conversation with my brother's girlfriend. And my cousin Danielle, who owns a business called Sweet as Dye, check them out. They do tie-dyed goods. My cousin Danielle, in her infinite wisdom, turns to this girl and says, hey, you like tie-dye? And the girl completely blows her off. The girl completely is in her own little world, in her own little corner, in her own little chair, and I lose my ever-loving shit. It is 9:30. I actually have a class that I have to be in right now, but I love you all so much. I will be reading your comments. I cannot wait to see you all again next week on another episode of Cat Chat. I love you all. Please take care of yourself and make good choices. Ciao meow for now, and I'll talk to you later.